Hello, I'm Ramesh, a seasoned veteran with 27 years of experience in the dynamic world of IT. Throughout my illustrious career, I've had the privilege to lead global teams at renowned giants like Sun Microsystems, EMC, and Dell Technologies. But today, I'm here to embark on a new, thrilling journey with you all. In an era where the digital realm has transformed how we access information, I am excited to introduce you to the Leadership Series show. This podcast is my brainchild, an opportunity for us to dive deep into the experiences and journey of several remarkable minds in the corporate world, accomplished entrepreneurs and technology trailblazers, and leaders who have paved their own path to success. Picture this, this is your backstage pass into the insights, strategies, and stories of these visionaries who have navigated the turbulent waters of the business world and emerged triumph. So, are you ready? Are you excited? Do you want to be part of this journey, this remarkable journey that we're going to have together? I'm super excited and I hope you are too. But here's the thing, to keep the golden nuggets of wisdom flowing from all our esteemed guests, I will need your support. If you like this video, if you want more of these incredible stories and invaluable advices, consider joining our community. It's simple. All you need to do is hit on the subscribe button and turn on notification. But more than all, I hope you continue to tune in because your viewership means the world to me. Welcome aboard, my friends. Hello and welcome to the Leadership Series show. Today, our guest is Gururaj, a seasoned entrepreneur with decades of experience spanning across diverse domains, especially IT. Welcome, Gururaj.
Hey Ramesh, thank you. Thanks for calling me, getting me here.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to have you here. You have really a diverse industry exposure, and I think your portfolio is amazing, spans across a whole lot of spectrum. Was this by design, or is this something that you kind of planned it? How did it all start? Can you just walk us through?
It's actually a mix of design, mix of planning and flow kind of thing. It all started way back when my first job in BPL, BPL Limited. That's basically a PCB manufacturing unit where I joined as a supervisor. You know, in BPL, the culture is when you join for the first time, you're supposed to work in all the departments. That way, it was a very, very good opportunity for me as my first starting career. So I got an opportunity to actually work in production and planning. I also worked in press shops where mechanical die making, tool making was there, and also shipping and packaging, invoicing, and those kind of stuff. And making of, since it's a chemical plant, so I learned a lot about chemistry. Even though I was an electronics degree holder, I got an opportunity to, get all those things. Learning curve was pretty good. And after the BPL, at one particular time, I realized that, things are getting stagnated, my growth is not happening because it is the same thing. So that was the time in 1999 when I caught up with all this news about IT, Y2K boom and all that stuff. So, so I realized that this is not a space that if I'm here, I'm not going to do anything more. So I decided that, okay, let me take a leap into something different where I'll take risk into learning something new and trying something new. That's how it all started. So, and things were also not anything favoring me inside the company at that point in time. So I just quit one fine day and I started thinking around what to do. And then a close friend of mine, Srinidhi, he had that time actually returned from Singapore where he had learned something in IT. And he discussed about, he used to tell me about, there's something called system administrator who's supposed to control all the security, the permissions of everybody, who can do what. And that started exciting me. Oh, so that I can do something in IT which will give you power, right? Empower you to do something different. So then I thought, okay, why don't I jump into this? So, of course, there was no much money available, no support from family. Whatever was the PF money that I had, took out everything. And I went into learning Microsoft certification. I could somehow finish, out of the 6 papers, I finished 4 papers first. So I just got some certifications. And then my money was exhausted. and my wife was working, but I didn't want to take money from my wife. So I started working for the same institution as a, uh, what do you call it? I started teaching there as part-time and collecting money back so that I can go back again and learn and write those 2 papers to complete my certification. So that I did for about 3 to 4 months, and then I wrote my papers, completed, and then got into some small IT jobs. I started working as a guy who'll go and install desktops into somebody's house or offices, small places that I started working, where like, there used to be a company called RCS Technologies and multiple of them. I think before even I could take a good leap into a proper IT job, my breakthrough was again because of Srinidev. He pulled me into come and give an interview in Tata Elxsi because he was already working in Tata Elxsi at that point in time. Before I could get there, I think I switched 13 jobs
Wow.
in about
And all was in IT?
all was in IT.
Oh.
Somewhere I was doing printer management. In some place I started learning about switches and routers. In some places I started learning about copiers. Because, I wanted to get a hang of everything of IT. Because Microsoft certification only teaches you about how the OS is working or how you administer the OS and things like that. But I never knew about how do I open a computer, how do you repair, at that level. So I wanted to get a hang of all that. So that really pushed me to do all these things. I never cared. Some places I used to work for like 20 days. Some places I worked for like 30 days, not even taken salary from them. Just run away because I wanted to learn something else. So that's how it happened. Then I got into proper engineer, I would call it as like IT engineer or something of that sort. That's what happened in Tata Elxsi.
Okay.
And then the IT journey started. So after Tata Elxsi, I worked in multiple companies, and then at last I landed in a company called Tejas Networks, which went public recently. And that is the company which changed, I would say, everything for me. Because that is where I joined. When I joined, I was just a single man army in IT. Nobody else was there. And we were sub 100 at that time. It was a startup. And Tejas Networks is basically a product company which makes telecom edge products. So it was a very varied, vast, I would say, exposure for me into, development domain, procurement domain, infrastructure domain, and security domain, and management domain. Everything just happened in Tejas for me.
So did Tejas also provide you? I know that supply chain was one of the big things for
Yes,
you.
yes. So in Tejas, I started with IT as my core, and then I panned towards, because I was a single guy doing IT. Tejas always had this thing that people had to do multiple jobs. Startup always happens that way, right? You don't want to hire 3-4 people to do 3-4 jobs.
Yeah.
If you can somehow jumble, mingle, and do something, and with one guy they'll try to manage all the jobs. So that's how it happened. So I was doing IT procurement for the in-house usage, and also in-house consumption, I mean, and also for I used to take care of the IT. And then after some time I got into infrastructure, where setting up of offices and things started. So for that, the procurement also I started doing. So at one particular point in time, when Tejas business also started having a requirement of having procurement, because Tejas first started working with private operators, something like Tata or Reliance was the customer base. When Tejas decided that they wanted to get into government space, where tender was a main thing, right? All the government things always comes on a tender. So in tender, what used to happen, the Tejas can't supply just the product and leave it. They have to supply a solution. So when you supply a solution, you need to supply a server, you need to supply an AMC component for it, or you need to supply some cables. They're all third party, there are a lot of items. Your component which you produce may be like 30% or 40% of the total solution. So there is a 60% bought out items which you have to get. In those 60%, I think I used to handle about 40% of them, or for 50% of them, which was a third-party procurement. Completely, I used to handle.
So did this whole thing happen because it was a startup and it kind of provided the opportunity, or did it happen because you also started accepting those as something you volunteered to pick up those?
So I would say it's a mix of both. One thing that I learned was there was no way for me just by doing IT in Tejas I'm going to grow, because I cannot go and ask my manager to promote me for doing the same job that every day I'm doing, right? So then I started thinking I should do some multitasking. I should pick up something else which will allow me to write in my KRA that, I've done additionally these many items. So then I started planning out that way. So first I picked up infra as one thing. I started doing infra, and then I added up supply chain, and then I added up setting up of all the offices, even manufacturing setups. Like, they just had a manufacturing setup in Pondicherry. So I set up the whole factory. We had 3 factories in Pondicherry at that point in time. So as and when things started falling out and I can see something that I can grab, I ensure that I'll actually pull it out and somehow get there, go there and pick it up for myself. And that's how it all happened. And of course, supply chain is one thing which changed. It's a paradigm shift, I would say, in my career. That changed a lot of things because that made me exposed to different varieties. Because I was not just procuring IT then. I started procuring solutions for all these tenders. So I started participating in tender. How do you write a tender document? How do you read one? And where do you cover up your margins, And it was an interesting thing. And tender document was supposed to be, given in the morning at 10 o'clock. We used to sit the whole night because all the competitors of yours are also sitting and filling up the same forms. So we used to have informations coming in the night at 2 o'clock. That guy has contacted this vendor. So which means to say, I already know that vendor's pricing, right?
Yep.
So now I need to figure out where do I put my price in such a way that I'm lower than him. Because I have to be lower always.
Yeah.
In government tender, as you are L1, you'll get it. If you are H1, you're not going to get it. So tender became a huge thing for me. So that's how the procurement became a paradigm shift.
So what is this L1 and H1 for?
L1 is lowest quote that you get, and H1 is like the highest the quote, right? So tender always goes to a government looks at like they want to spend the least for a particular project,
Yeah.
and that's why they want to get the lowest quote, but for a complete solution, doing everything what they're asking for. So that is what it is.
So would it be right in saying that you were willing to take the risk of entering into unknown territories?
Yes, very much,
right?
very much.
And then your thought process was around value generation, right? What is that value that I can add more? Yes, of course, you were an IT expert and you were providing IT services.
Yeah.
But you also looked at, how can I add more value to the company?
Yes,
While
yes.
company also provide you those opportunities to you.
Yes.
So it's kind of a two-way street, right? Where there's a company which is providing opportunity and it's a win-win situation for
Yes,
both,
yes.
right? Yeah.
I had a classmate with me when I was doing my Microsoft training program. He was an elderly guy, means my age and his age had about 10 years of difference. That means he was already married, he was with a kid. I was just married at the time. His name is Mallana. Currently, I think he's the CEO of Purvankara Group.
Okay.
Okay. So he used to always tell me, Guru, you know what? Whatever it is, man, you should leave the screwdriver. You should not hold a screwdriver. Remember this for your life. So his idea was telling me this was like, whatever that you're doing, unless and until you give up and give it to somebody else to do,
Yeah.
so that your hands are free, so that you can do something new.
Yeah.
This is one thing which stuck me. And that's the same thing which made me do everything. So I joined as a one-man army in Tejas, but my IT team, by the time I quit Tejas Networks, it was about, I think, 27 or 30 people were there. below
Wow.
me. So that means I ensure that my team grows. I ensure that everybody services are all taken care.
Yeah.
So I am becoming free from that. So I can do something more,
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
So that's one of the way that I always used to plan out, where I don't want to do the same thing that I'm doing forever. And monotony is one more thing which I hate. In work or life, I don't want the same thing to keep on happening.
Yeah.
Something different should keep on coming.
Yeah. So you had mentioned about supply chain bringing you a paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
What was your learnings? I mean, what was that paradigm shift that you had? What was the enlightenment or conscious awareness that shifted during that period?
So, as I said, so I was anyway doing some part of the procurement earlier itself, right? Only buying some laptops, desktops, those kind of stuff. But of course, this third-party thing which started pulling me towards the business, I would say, right? From IT, my shift started. I had done some part of the infrastructure job already. I used to even do some part of the facilities job, I would say. And then IT was anyway there. I was supposed to do. That was my job. Additionally, when all these things happened, when I realized that, okay, getting towards the business is the best thing to do because I'll get exposed to a lot of other things. So I started getting towards the business because of the tender business which Tejas Networks used to have. That also made me understand about profits, cost. So there's something called profit center, cost center, these new words, from looking at things from the finance point of view. And there are some things where gestation period, how long if you do you'll make money, or how long if you stretch you'll start losing money. These are the kind of discussions which we used to have
Okay.
during this tender discussions and all. Because some of the projects used to come to us, which was like, timeline used to be like 24 months, right? So our product will be ready in, say, six months or maybe, but your schedule for execution, you're supposed to take for 24 months. So after that, I was supposed to provide for AMC because that was part of the tender document, where the requirements were saying that, you need to cover it for 5 years. Now, there's a cost involved.
Yeah.
So then this is one thing that actually made me start thinking that, okay, I need to upgrade myself. I just can't be just with a degree. I need to understand business. I need to understand part of stats or maybe finance and things like that. That pushed me towards me going and picking up executive MBA from IIM Bangalore. So I did that course for 1 year. That is the reason I'm saying it is a paradigm shift. So it really added a great value in terms of my life journey, where I could say that I can say even today that I got enabled with a lot more tools in my mind or hand because I learned about something different. So that is how it's a paradigm shift.
So you also mentioned about shifting companies, right?
Yeah.
Just curious to understand what were the trigger points. I mean, what actually led you to jump so many
Okay.
companies?
I can say that there are two trigger points I used to always look for. One is money, because it was a need for me. I was not having a job for almost like more than 14 months. I didn't work. I was only studying, learning. So no salary and being married, no salary, it's a very difficult
Yeah.
thing for a man to, face people. Especially it was so bad that I used to not meet even my friends. I stopped catching up with anybody because I didn't have a job, I don't have money. Or if I had to go meet somebody and take them out for even say coffee, then I had to depend on my wife. That was a very difficult situation for me. So basically it was money that way. The other trigger point was, of course, if I did my Microsoft certification, so I'll go to a company to learn, say, I'm supposed to install OS, right? So that's how the system administrator job is. So I'll install OS. If I've done it like 10 times, 15 times, I'm done with it. I've learned this.
Yeah.
Now I want to learn something different. So I don't know something about printer. So in the company, there used to be one printer or two printer. That's how the environment will be, right? But I wanted to learn printer as a whole. So then I'll go and search for a job where only a printer repair guy is there. So he'll have AMCs with multiple offices where I can get exposed to different brand printers. So that's how it all started. So my trigger used to be either money or the technology itself, that which I don't know. So I picked up that way. The same way it happened in Tejas also. It's something like I'm doing IT, so what do I do next? Something related, procurement, okay. And then after procurement, what do? I think infra, making of offices. So going and start searching for real estate, negotiating with the owners for landlords, and then sitting up with sitting with all these architects to design where should be the server room, where should be the washroom, and all that stuff. And then you come back again to do execution
Yeah.
of that. You're meeting multi-vendors, different types of vendors. Electrical. Oh, electrical is another big thing that I learned. During my infrastructure only, I realized that, electrical as a subject has huge thing to know. So we don't know.
Yeah.
We keep talking about, our houses get only 2 kVA of power
Yeah.
when you are getting allotment done, right? And if you see a company, you need something like 500 kVA or, depending on 600 kVA, 1000.
Yeah.
So
So
that
it goes
sizing,
megawatts.
how do you plan? And then if that sizing is there, then how do you plan the distribution of it in
Yeah.
every flow?
Yeah.
Because you need to be flexible. As a product company for us, there is a place where very power intensive things will be there. There are places where only laptops are being worked.
Yeah.
So that means I need to know my distribution board should have
Yeah.
what kind of a cooling that you will put. The server room needs a different type of cooling. A normal place needs a different type of cooling. So these are all things that I learned during my infrastructure, which gave me a very vast, I would say, varied exposure into different things. So I used to not leave if somebody talks to me something new, like let's say architect speaks about you need to get the power audit done before you go to the this whatever particular stage, or he'll say lift needs a specific certification, otherwise without this particular license you cannot run the lift. Now when you get to know something new, there are two ways to do it. One is you get to know something new and you figure out that who's the expert in it and hire them and make them do the job. My behavior or my habit is, if something new is there, then I need to know first, because then if they are actually fooling me, I'll not know what the hell and how the hell they are fooling me, right? So to know that, I used to get into the depth of everything. I used to spend time in learning, either by pick up a book or go to internet, figure out the documents, and then I used to spend a lot of time learning that way. And that's how the trigger points also used to come out like this.
So that sets to pivot into your new or the current space you are in, right? Entrepreneurship. I know that you are really obsessed with entrepreneurship, right?
Totally.
You were and you are probably even now, right? So how did that transition happen? I mean, what challenges you had and how did you get into your new space?
Yeah. So basically, I'm a Kannada medium school guy. I passed out everything in Kannada, and when I tried first time learning English, my father said that if you don't learn English, you are not going to survive in this world. One particular day, so they put me into high school. Started with English. So in midterm, I failed. I became panic. So till then, like a good first rank holder, start failing, and then became, again, that also made me learn. I had to put in good amount of effort to get there, and then by final exams I was through. Then it all picked up. So the reason why I said that was, I didn't know this word called entrepreneurship, because I am not a English medium guy. I studied all through in Kannada, and then this entrepreneurship itself was a big deal. But what I knew was that every time, from very young age, I wanted to do something in business. Some business I should do. I always used to feel that, people who are doing business have more money than people who are working for somebody. You have a lot of liberty, you have a lot of empowerment for yourself. You can decide when to work, when not to work. But yeah, and later getting into entrepreneurship, now I know, it's like you need to do much more than what the company expects you to do. Corporate is much easier to do. Yes, so my entrepreneurship, I actually started during my college itself. I used to sell garments and all that, like shirts, pants, those kind of thing I started. And then during Tejas Network's journey, at a particular point, when I grew till about becoming a senior manager, good amount of money with whatever the cost of living that I used to have a little bit of extra money left, which I can call it as disposable income, right? So the moment the disposable income started increasing, my kida about this entrepreneurship again caught me back. So I started doing multiple businesses on the parallel. So I started a company which was called Rico Naturals, which used to make papads, powders, and pickles and all that stuff. So I used to distribute into retail chains. So with a partnership I did.
And this is when you were working?
Yeah. Along with my work, I started my entrepreneurship kida also.
Okay.
So I started a new company.
And you had people working under you, or you just go and deliver?
We had people. It was a factory. So we had about 20 people working there.
Okay.
So it was remotely set up. It was in a different state in Andhra Pradesh. So my friend who was a partner with me, his sister used to manage the local things.
Okay.
So we used to fund and pick up the product. The product used to come to Bangalore and supply used to happen and all that stuff. After some time, I realized that all the money which we were earning was always in the market. It was not with us at all. Okay. Even though we were making profits, the money used to be lying in the market, because the FMCG market, it really works totally differently, So if they get a supply to a retail shop, whatever is the supply that you do, let's say that your first supply was done at 5,000 rupees. When you are going for the second supply, you're doing 10,000 rupees, right? So this guy is supposed to give you that 5,000 and take this 10,000 material. So if it takes 1 month for him to sell the 5,000, he will take 1 month.
1 month.
When you're a new product. But if you're an established product, something like, Dabur or all these Kisan guys, Unilever products, they are all like different. It's like very high demand because they've been there for ages. So those products doesn't work that way. So these when we were new, it was very difficult for us to collect the money. All our money used to be in the market. So 2 years, somehow we managed, couldn't hold on to, shut it down. So my friend's sister continued the factory, and today also it's functioning, but we got out of it. And then I tried my luck thinking that, distribution. By then I had already finished my this executive MBA. So some amount of business kid also had entered with some bookish knowledge, Excel, how to put all the things and see ROI and all that stuff, right? So I started looking at this thing called, these Coca-Cola and all these cola business and all, right? So if you see, there is in the chain, value chain, you always have a stockist, then you have a distributor, then you have a dealer who supplies distribution, and then you get the retailer. So since this already pickle kida was already there and I had already tried, I knew that I should not do anything with the retail level. So I didn't want to be there. So then I decided, okay, why don't I actually either become a stockist or a distributor, where the pull is going to happen because the company, the product guy is going to make a marketing. I will not have to do anything. I just have to stock it and distribute it where he tells me to put it. So that time, I don't know whether you remember this Bindu Jeera water or Bindu Jeera soda. That was a very new entrant in the market. Nobody was there in that particular space. So I took up distribution for Vijayawada from here, sitting in Bangalore. We picked up a shop and, distribution we started. I got an auto on rent. We took a guy who will go distribute. I did that for 6 months. 2 lorries came, 2 truckloads of material. All the money is again stuck in the market. Okay. No payment. So I realized that this also won't work. And sitting remotely, you can't do anything.
You can't.
So I realized we shut it down. I burnt my finger there also. Then I thought that, okay, since I'm a passionate cook, somehow let's try my hands on the food industry itself.
Yeah.
Again, came back to restaurant. I ran a restaurant for about 4 years, multi-cuisine restaurant. And that also, again, couldn't do anything. It just shut down, burned my hands. And then after that, of course, by then, in Tejas Networks also, my time was like stagnated. There's nothing new to do. One of the interesting thing which happened during Tejas Networks was that I also got into acquisitions and mergers, right? Because of along with this particular job of supply chain, we acquired few companies because the reason was, that is again coming back to, there were some solutions where we bid, where some particular product was required which was not with us. Okay. So corporate took a call that, even though the product is not there, few products we should not buy, instead we'll acquire them. And during those days, we had some funding also had happened. So Tejas had enough money. So we acquired few companies. So I was part of asset merger. So I took care of the mergers and acquisitions.
Yep.
So because of which, again, my exposure became much wider, I would say. And then came this stagnation, and then I decided, okay, boss, that's more than enough now. Everything I've done, touch everywhere. So I know how to run a company. I know what mistakes I've made. And now I'm going to do something big. And I don't want to be doing anything. So I really thought through, wanted to start a company, but it should be something which creates an impact to society or to people. I don't want to do some company where just something to buy and sell or make and sell. I didn't want that kind of a thing. So we chose waste management as one of the basic, platform or the place that we would like to work on. But we never wanted to do anything on, because in those days I really saw that whoever was doing anything with waste was either an NGO or some government sector. But in my ideology, it was very clear, boss, anything I'm going to do for profit only. No NGO, no free lunch business, that's not required for us. So we started waste management, and that's how 4R started. So my entrepreneurship, from that small, so many things, it just landed up. Now, currently, as I say, as we speak, we are still with 4R. I mean, it's not shut down. So the good thing is...
So how long has been 4R in
It's been
existence?
10 years now. So 2012 we started. We became operational in 2013. 4R Recycling Private Limited is basically an electronic waste recycling company which is into e-waste recycling. So it's been about 10 years, and for the last 3 years we've been profitable. We're doing good. Now it's been like picking up pretty well. And of course, maturity in the market also matters a lot,
Yeah. So what has been your learning? I know that you you kind of ventured out into multiple businesses, and you had an array of learning that you had, which you kind of put into 4R, and that's what has led you to sustaining it and growing, right? So how has the company itself evolved, and what learnings did you apply out here which kind of made it sustain this long?
I would say it's a good question, but there is none of the learning that I could apply into 4R business model, because okay, so let's actually look at what is 4R started. When we started, actually we three of us founded the company. So when we started, idea was to do something in waste. At that particular point in time, municipal solid waste was a big menace, especially in Bangalore area, and people used to talk a lot about it. Everyday news used to come. In this particular Mandur place, the dumping yard is closed. People are doing strike, and they start, those kind of things used to happen. So we thought that, okay, solving this problem will be like, you will come to focus, you'll grow fast and all that stuff. But municipal solid waste, since it's actually a biodegradable waste, right? So there's a lot of organic chemistry involved in it, because of which the process that you apply chemically is a long gestation process. When I say long gestation, the ROI is something like, generally when an investor looks at your business plan, he wants something like 3-5 years is the max people look at. But this particular MSW business will actually be more than 9 years. The investments are too huge. And if you do it, the input, which is your MSW itself, you cannot get it continuously, because basically MSW is a municipality matter for any state, for any city in the country. Since it's municipality matter, everything is handled by corporation. The corporation means Bangalore Corporation, I'm saying. So in Bangalore Corporation, the mayor and the team, it keeps changing every year. Now that means to say, you are not sure about getting your input for the next year. So we realized this as a flaw, and then we shifted our gears. In the waste management, let us do only some part of it, which is e-waste management. Now, e-waste, obviously I was IT guy, so it's very, very near to me. I knew what is IT. I know server, switches, routers, and everything was clear. So I thought, okay, why don't we get there? Because I did some study and figured out, okay, a lot of, precious metals are there in the PCB, and you have processors, you have RAM, you have this, you have that, platinum is also there. It was like big thing. Oh man, let's do that. So we thought we'll start with our e-waste industry, and then we put up a e-waste plant, took our licenses. Yeah, that took about 1 year, 1.5 years. This whole thing from MSW shifting to e-waste and putting up a plant, taking licenses, everything took about 1.5 years. Then the thing started. We thought that e-waste means, okay, you just bring it, and that machine is there. You just
dump it
and then get the output. Grind it, and it will give me out an output, just like how I used to do cooking in my kitchen. But it is not so. The problem is here, everything is heterogeneous. The moment you have all the heterogeneous stuff, waste actually becomes WOW, wealth out of waste, right? Wealth out of waste is possible only when you have a homogeneous mixtures of each element. That is when the value comes out. So to figure out the value chain, I had to do huge amount of legwork. Now I had to figure out first, how does the recycling industry work? How are these, generally another biggest problem for the recycling is, it's controlled by largely a particular clan of people, right? Different clan guy entering into this space itself is a big barrier. First is at home, nobody will support you. What, man, from IT you're going to scrap? It was like that. And the second problem is, when you go to the real guy who's actually handling the scrap, that fellow will first see you, what's your name? I'm Guru. Guru, he'll not even tell you the next thing. Because they are like so cohesive about what they know. They know exactly what to do, where to do, which one will get them money. But I was not able to understand okay, I bought some computers, what do I do with the computer? Because I put it in this my machine just grinded and gave it off everything. So then that is not going to fetch me money, I realized. So it took about 2 to 3 years to learn. So I had a huge round of OJT, on-job training. I used to make deals which, I'll bring it. There are times that, Ramesh, I bought things at 340 rupees a kilo. I picked up that material and I came off. I picked it up at 340 rupees or something like that. That guy sold it to me. And after bringing here, I also segregated. I knew now pockets of people who will pick up metal from me, who will pick up
Yeah.
motherboard from me, who will pick up this from me. I had figured out all that in this OJT time. So I did all of that with my team and we sold it to everybody. Now at last, I checked my Excel sheet. I got 90 rupees per kg back. So like this, multiple times I had to lose money to learn where is the actual value chain. So real value discovery in the recycling, how do you do it? This happened like 2 to 3 years for us.
Yeah.
And then we really started really knowing the industry, working with the industry, and then we started growing. But of course, COVID, as you know, became a deterrent for everybody.
Everyone,
Right?
yeah.
So there was huge troubles that we had in those 2 years. And post-COVID, everything started flowing back. Again.
So you are in a sustainability space, and that's very critical to the world as such in general, right?
Yes.
So, you know, if given that you've spent so much of time in this industry, given that you've discovered, learned quite a bit of stuff, what is that message that you would like to give to viewers who are viewing this program, right? In terms of sustainability on the whole.
I would say basically electronic waste or any waste, right? So as you know, country, I mean, the Prime Minister keeps talking about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and country is also going towards circular economy, sustainability. So if you really see, each of us have a huge deemed responsibility towards waste management and sustainability, because we need to do things at our level, under our purview, I would say, few things which will actually enable the country to reach the level that what the vision the Prime Minister carries, right? So in terms of that, waste is another problem here is, you know, any corporate or generally, even if you see MSW, right? They say you segregate everything and give. But at the end of the day, it doesn't get segregated when they're carrying it. So that way, in similar level, if I have to look at corporate also, waste is not anybody's responsibility. In some cases, in some companies, the facility guy takes care of it. In some companies, the finance guy takes care of it. In some companies, supply chain guy, or maybe even a commercial guy. But you know, each person who's working in that particular domain has a different KRA. Now, based on his KRA, his thought process about this waste also changes. He doesn't have the same mentality that when I go and explain about what is 4R, what do we do with 4R, you know, we are an end-to-end recycling company where we are doing all the, you know, e-waste recycling from the start till the end. Even currently our plan is to actually reach to a stage where we'll do all the metal extractions. We want to be the first company in the country where we'll have end-to-end metal extraction done. Which means, you know, there are about 19 metals in the PCB, which is, the study says, at least about 10 to 11 or 12 metals that we can take out.
Oh, wow.
And bring it back to as a, bring it back to, I would say, like an ingot, right? Which can be reused back into the industry, so which we call it as urban mining, right? So why do you want to mine below the ground when you have everything already available on the top? Because we are all using so much of electronics in different ways, right? Every house has about 100, 150 kg easily. And it keeps changing. Everybody tries to upgrade, you know, number of phones that we carry and everything if you look at. So same way, if you look at corporate, it's there. But all of us have to look at this electronic waste in this way, that, you know, urban mining is possible. If we do urban mining for the country, we don't need to import that much of gold or that much of platinum or, you know, whatever. Or look at even from a very different angle, if I have to say, right? See, okay, you know how carbon footprint works, right? So carbon emission and, you know, carbon credits that they give you. So carbon credits are given to somebody who's actually avoiding a particular, you do a particular action, right? It could be in any domain. Now that action enabled a mining company not to mine a certain amount of ore, which went into refining, and then for all the energy spent in those particular companies or places, that was avoided. That is how you get the carbon credit, right? This is the funda. The problem here is, I actually refurbish a particular laptop. 4R, oh, I didn't tell you about the 4R, right? So 4R is an extension of 3R. So 3R is nothing but a jargon in the waste management. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Recycle.
This is the famous jargon of recycling industry. So we added a fourth R. We wanted to be a little bit different. So we added recreate. So idea is, if you go on recycling everything, that means you're not extending the life of a product. So you need to do something to extend the life of the product so that it actually adds value towards the carbon credit.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I'm trying to refurbish a laptop and give it to another person, that means I'm not, or rather I'm pushing that person not to buy a new laptop, which in turn is pushing a company, a manufacturer, not to manufacture a new laptop, which means that that guy didn't purchase a particular motherboard from Intel, which means the Intel didn't purchase a particular chip from a chip manufacturer, which is enabling the carbon credit to come. But this whole system of chain, I would say, is still not well established. So we're not able to really get this carbon credits done for the efforts that we are putting in the circular economy. But I would say that, for every 1 ton of e-waste recycled will actually get you about 1.44 tons of carbon emissions avoided. So that is the way the value benefit that country or the world is getting. But if we continue with the same breath, why I am trying to say all these things, I'll connect the previous point that you asked me. So how a company or a corporate, right, how should they look at sustainability is that they need to look at all these angles, aspects, and then figure out a way that they should set up a policy or a process inside that all the e-waste getting generated is actually flowing to a right place and getting recycled in a scientific way so that there's no harm which is happening. Otherwise also, if you see the unorganized sector who's doing the recycling predominantly, those guys are giving harm to the I would say Mother Earth, because there's a lot of chemicals which they use, and they know only to take out about 3 or 4 metals. Now, in the run for only getting those 4 metals, they use all the carcinogenic inputs, which actually releases a lot of these so-called SOx and NOx, we call it in the recycling industry, which we need to avoid. So these emissions plus the left out item which is there is actually thrown down to the ground, which is again seeping through. It is actually spoiling your groundwater balance, also your ecology around the area that you're there, and the quality of the crops that are coming out. All these things on a long term will get affected. Is already affected. We also know earlier the veggies used to be different quality for us. The same veggie is not there today. And all these things long term, corporate also need to think and adapt and imbibe is what I think.
Okay. All right, Guru, I think as we hit the last section of this podcast, right, what we want to do is we want to take a question that you would ideally want to ask the next guest that we have into the show, right? So this is something that we want to do and, pass on, if you may call the baton, right, to the next leader who is coming in.
Okay.
So in that sense, would you mind writing
sure.
your question?
First of all,
and then
the way you have designed the whole thing itself was very, very new to me, and that's really nice. And this itself this is another new thing now, huh?
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you, Gururaj.
Same here. It was pleasure. It was nice to, walk through my own journey, which is obviously just whatever has happened. But it's like I again went back to all those times because I remembered all those. It was a good thing for me too.
Awesome. Pleasure. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.